And welcome back to the Get Back Coach presented by Apollo Media. Today we have the ACC with Notre Dame preview for you guys. But before that, Jay, some some press conferences taking place earlier this week. Let's start off with probably the more surprising one that took place. Deion Sanders. Um, and this came, I believe, on Saturday. Deion Sanders says that he is going to have a press conference with his medical staff. Now, Jay, usually that is not a good sign, right?
No.
Like not good. I think a lot of us were anticipating a resignation because he has had some health issues in the past. However, if you turned or tuned in to this press conference, you would see that um, the bad news is Deion Sanders had gallbladder cancer. He had a tumor in his bladder, but the good news is that it was removed. So he is cancer free right now. And then, of course, after his health, the next section or the next question is, "Will you be coaching?" And he responds with "Oh, I'm back, baby, yeah." So Deion Sanders will be coaching for the Colorado Buffaloes. He did say that he will be. There will be job Johnnies on the sidelines because he cannot control his bladder. He made a couple light jokes there, but Jay, I know you were working. Did you catch any of this press conference?
I didn't catch any of the press conference,
Hmm.
but obviously good news to hear. And I don't want to misquote this. I think he's got the cancerous tumor removed
Yes.
and is in remission.
Yep. Yep.
Listen, we talk about this all the time and coaching and how hard this job is. And we make jokes about like the buyouts and things like that, but this is a tough, demanding, at least from a time standpoint, job. And
Mhm.
for Deion Sanders, just I hope he's healthy.
Yeah.
Uh, this isn't something that cancer affects so many people,
Hmm.
and I think it's admirable for him to kind of fight through it.
Hmm.
Uh, it's I don't want to get into too much of like the football side of this.
Yeah.
Realistically, just glad that he was able to get it removed. I think it's a great reminder for everyone to go get checked up,
Mhm.
because you want to catch these things early. And
Right.
so not to get like too much on my soapbox here, but really grateful for all of the great work being done in medicine. All of the people who help donate to causes like, for example, like a St. Jude's for
Mhm.
childhood cancer.
Yeah.
Uh, obviously Dion getting up there and kind of uh, just addressing it head on. I think is important, and you know, I hope he again just can stay healthy throughout the season. Rooting for him to stay healthy, really.
Yeah.
And I can, this is kind of a roundabout way of saying that, ultimately, I'm glad it's not as bad as
Yeah.
maybe some of us thought going into this.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was probably as best as I have a press conference with my medical staff that it could get. Um, I personally wouldn't have worn the overalls, but hey, to each his own. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Um, Dion it's great that Dion's healthy. I think that really put I mean, if like you said, cancer affects so many people. Not to get too emotional, like very early on in this episode, but um, I was kind of thinking like halfway through this conference, like why have a press conference? Just to say, hey, I'm okay. But the thing is, like, a couple things happened there that I absolutely love. One, he gave a public like thank you to his medical staff, which I think is awesome. And another thing is letting people know, hey, if you think something might be wrong, get checked out. And he did mention he hopes people do that. So again, really happy Dion's okay, um, and that he's going to be able to coach this year. So, that's good news coming out of Colorado.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's one other thing I just kind of want to circle back to on this, just because I think what we do in college football, both of us played college football.
Mhm.
We have been in locker rooms our whole life. I think a lot of times, like you'll have nagging issues, and you think you just have to push through it.
Mhm.
I think part of growing up and getting older is just you sometimes you need to get checked out, right? Like you're not being uh a lot of the times, it's gets thrown around like you're being soft if you go to the doctor. Like, no, get checked out if you have
Yeah.
something wrong. Don't think you're just tougher than whatever the issue is. And I think that Dion making a point to say, like, go get checked out is something that we kind of all need to take as good advice. Like,
Mhm.
if you have something that's wrong, go get it checked out. Like, go to
Yeah.
the doctor. You're not being, soft if you go get checked for what could be a serious issue, right? Like
Mhm.
you're an adult now. It's perfectly fine to go to the doctor and get checked up on.
Yeah. So good news coming out of Boulder. Dion will be coaching in
Yeah, he's
remission.
not leaving. He's not
No,
leaving.
he's not leaving. I'm not leaving. And that kind of leads us to that was a wonderful segue, Jay.
You're welcome.
And for the people who don't know, they're about to find out. So something really bizarre happened over Big 12 media days. And that's Dave Aranda trying to make a connection with, was it coaches and players, and doing the one of us,
Yeah, the one of us scene from
Wolf of Wall Street, where he then makes comments about a scene earlier in the movie involving
Little
little
People.
people, and it was really, really bizarre. And I still am not entirely sure what he was getting at. Something with relationships with coaches and players, but that went better in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
and I think like in college football, most of the coaches have like these are people that are obsessed with football.
oh yeah.
These are people that live and breathe the sport. Uh, but I think a lot of coaches have some kind of charisma about them, and Dave Aranda I think is a fantastic football coach. I don't know if he's necessarily like the charismatic guy.
No.
Like I think a lot of why he's good at football is just his football knowledge.
Mhm.
And like earlier in the day, we saw a quote from I think Jeff Traylor at UTSA talking about when UTSA plays at the Alamo Dome, they're like the Navi connecting to the tree in the
Yes.
Avatar movie. So like coaches say weird stuff, but
Yeah.
I think it was the combination of what he was saying
Mhm.
and then also just like who Dave Aranda is. Like I think he's kind of more of an awkward guy.
Mhm.
And this was just watching that clip, I was just like, what in the world is going on? Definitely a soundbite.
Yeah. I'm like, what is happening? And again, you said it, Jay. A lot of these college coaches, or just football coaches in general, are kind of disconnected a bit to, I don't want to say the real world, but just like
The world outside of football.
yes, the world outside of football. It's like speaking to someone who doesn't like, Jay, you ever speak to someone who doesn't follow football and be like, "Oh, what did you do on Sunday?" And they'll ask me and be like, "Oh, I watched like 12 hours of football. What did you do?" Like, "Oh, I went to the park. I went and took my kids to this thing." And like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that in the fall." You know, and yes, these guys are just kind of disconnected to life outside of football, and I feel like they think when they're at that podium, they kind of forget of, oh, I'm not in the coach's room right now.
Yeah.
Like maybe I shouldn't make this reference. It off the wall. Yeah, you said it. Jeff Traylor talking about his team connecting like the Navi.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think another point, like to the disconnectedness of coaches, uh I think we're going to talk about this guy later, but Dabo Sweeney was talking about seeing a Brian Kelly concert, and so he's taking pictures of like the advertisement for Brian Kelly. Uh, it's the Brian Kelly of Florida Georgia line. It's not Brian Kelly, the coach. So he's sitting there sending all these pictures, like, dude, are you playing like guitar? Like, I didn't know you were musical.
That-
And it's just a great example of like how little these coaches like
yeah.
think about things outside of football. He's like, Brian never texted me back. I guess I'll ask him about it at when we play LSU later this year.
Yeah, they're all out of their mind. And you know what? To be successful, you have to be, I think, a little bit nuts. You have
I
to have a
can't
little bit of a screw loose.
I can't name a normal college football coach. Like I just can't.
No, everyone is a little loose somewhere, or like something isn't wired or cross wired or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a couple sound bites from the weekend. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes here. The ACC. So today is the ACC episode. It is just going to be Jay and I today. So Jay, we're going to start off with contenders, and I think you and I probably have the same contender. And it's the team that is, I think, by far the favorite in the conference, and that is the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah. And Clemson just feels like a no-brainer. It feels like they took a step back for a few years, which, to be fair, a step back for them was still competing for ACC titles and being in the race. But it didn't feel like they were that national championship contender. And the two areas where I felt like they were lacking were the defensive line play that had carried them for so long and the wide receivers. And it feels like they've gotten better at receiver, and it feels like their defensive line is reminiscent of some of those incredible defensive lines with, Cleveland Farrell and Christian Wilkins, like some of those guys that they had come through that program. Notwithstanding the current Wilkins stories going on, but it's just like Clemson felt like they maybe got away from their identity for a little bit and have gotten back to what made them so good in the ACC. Klubnik feels like he took a step up last year and will be great once again this year. Clemson, again, just feels like a no-brainer top team in the ACC. And I feel like they're the contender. And then everybody else is just fighting for the chance to meet Clemson in the ACC championship.
Yeah, and listen, when your step back and your bad year is 8-4, you're in a pretty good spot. Jay, I want to ask you a question here. Dabo Sweeney. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just say this. He's been the head coach since 2009. Okay. How many times did he end a season, including the bowl? We're going to include bowls here. How many times did he end the season? Or let's reverse this. How many times didn't he end the season with less than double-digit wins?
So how many times did he end a season with less than double-digit wins?
Yes. Yes.
All right. I'm going to say 3.
So it's actually 2. Okay. And I believe we got 13, 14 years. 14 years as a head coach. And you only have 2 seasons, his second year and 2 years ago, where they went 8-4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
at little old Clemson, huh?
Yeah, that little old Clemson, little old Clemson, just 10-2, 11-3. Last year, technically, they went 10-4. Because they had to win that ACC game or the ACC championship game. So, like, man, this is a good football team. And Jay, do you know what I love? I'm a big production guy. Okay, who do you have coming back? 80% of this team is coming back next year. The next ACC team with returning production has 65% of their team coming back. So this is a team that won the conference and has 15% more retention than the next team off the board. You just said it, Cade Klubnik. Here's the other thing, Jay. Clemson, known for defense, right? Dude, they got Will Helt coming in, um, which I want to say he's from Purdue, um, to be on the other side of TJ Parker. I think the offense is improving. This is Clemson's conference, and I think they are the only real true contender unless catastrophe strikes.
Yeah, and I feel like they're just going to have more depth than everybody in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging schedule to start for Clemson. Obviously, you get the first game of the year. LSU comes to town, so nothing to sneeze at there.
Right.
But then you look at the rest of it. You close out the season with another SEC opponent in South Carolina, who got you last year. Uh, it's not an easy schedule, right? Like
No.
you could see Clemson having 2 losses there, which means they have very little margin for error in the ACC. Obviously, you can get to the ACC championship automatic berth,
Yeah.
uh, but it's still going to be a very challenging year. With that being said, I think Clemson can rise to the challenge. I think this is going to be a team that is not just a title or not just an ACC title contender, but competing for the national championship, which we'll see what happens here at the end. Yeah, this Clemson is the contender, and it's really everybody else in the conference after.
Yeah, and Jay, look at their schedule. Yes, they start and end the season with 2 tough games, but they have more talent than every program in the ACC and every other program in the ACC. Talent, high-end talent, also depth. I just don't think that other teams are going to be able to compete against them. I really do. Um, so, Jay, do you have any more teams that you think can contend, or are we going to go straight into surprise?
Let's just go straight into the surprises.
Okay. Okay. I want to start because I think you're going to be shocked with all I'm about to say. Your surprise team in the ACC this year are the Pitt Panthers. And I'm going to tell you why. Again, this is coming from a man who is a Penn State fan, who lived in Morgantown, West Virginia for 4 years. Okay. I understand that I should not be here and kind of pounding the table for Pitt. I don't want to be. But you look at this team. Eli Holstein is a gamer. This guy is gonna use his legs a little bit. He's kind of a gunslinger, no fear type of attitude. I think they have a great nucleus on the defensive side of the ball, and I really believe that this team has a shot to make some noise in the ACC. I think they're a dark horse for the playoff. I don't think they're going to make the playoff. I do think they're going to be on the outside looking in. But looking at their schedule, I mean, I don't think there is an excuse for you to go 9-3. Okay? 9-3 or better. You should be able to get to 9 wins. You're going to lose to Notre Dame. Okay? You're probably, or I should say probably going to lose to Notre Dame. But the rest of those games I think are winnable. They don't have to play Clemson, which is huge. They returned 7 guys on offense as well. I'm telling you, I really like the Pitt Panthers, and I know we haven't been talking futures yet. I love Pitt Panthers over 6.5.
I don't hate it. I do think the offense was so much more explosive for Pitt last year. Letting Bell kind of work his magic there, and when you have a coach who's defensive minded, and maybe in the past that's gotten in the way of your offense, can cause some issues. But I feel like the offense really was just so much better, and that was best for Pitt last year. I could see them having a pretty good year, especially with how open the ACC is for me outside of Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like I said, I shouldn't like this Panther team, but I really think Pitt's going to have a good year this year. I really do. At least by their standards. Like I really believe this team can go 9-3, make a good bowl game. I think they're going to be on the outside looking into the playoff, but I think they're going to be in the mix.
Yeah. For my surprise team, I'm going in a little bit different direction. I think they surprised us all at the beginning of last year with the first game they won. Obviously, that win didn't end up mattering as much, given what happened. But I'm going with Georgia Tech. I mean, this is a team that is really had a pretty strong year last year. I mean, I know you look at it and you go, they won, they were 7-5, right?
Mm.
But you look at the games they lost. I thought they were really competitive in most of those, especially the 8 overtime game to close out the season against Georgia, right? Like that is a game that a lot of people think Georgia Tech probably should have won. And you get Haynes King back for another year. You know what the identity of this team is. This is a physical, smash mouth, run the ball team. That's what they want to do. That's what they're going to go out and try to do. And I think they can execute that this year. Now, I don't think they have as much of the production back as some of the other teams in the ACC. But this just feels like a team that is kind of gelling. This is Brent Key in his third year. Again, this has changed a little bit, but we know that the third year tends to be make or break for coaches. You do get a new defensive coordinator, Santucci moving on. Blake Gideon is in as the DC at Georgia Tech, but I feel like this is going to be a very, very good Georgia Tech team. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
I love that pick. I'm a big fan of Brent Key, and they had that big win at the beginning of the year. Man, they were so close to knocking off Georgia towards the end of the year. I believe in Brent Key, and he is bringing like a toughness back to Georgia Tech that I think they lost. They lost a bit of their identity when Paul Johnson retired. But yet again, I mean, they had to overhaul their whole offense, and now I think they're finally getting that footing again. And maybe not so much in the win-loss column, but Jay, think about this, man. Like 2-3 years ago, Georgia Tech was bottom feeder ACC, kind of looked at as an afterthought, and now they have like this toughness about them. And Jay, I think you said it too. Haynes King, I said tough. I've been saying toughness a lot, but Haynes King is so tough. Like, I think he is a very tough quarterback. I think he's an easy guy to root for. I know you might have some, maybe a little bit of conflictive, with the Texas A&M transfer, but I love the way he runs the ball. Just tough guy, and I feel like it's easy to root for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I tend to root for guys that transfer out of A&M just because I think there's a lot of reasons for somebody to leave, and I felt like with Haynes especially, I think maybe the previous coaching staff wasn't necessarily the best fit for him, and so seeing what he's kind of become at Georgia Tech, like he's just going to be a very, very tough athlete there, and it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. I feel like, again, it's not super predictable. Like, I could be way off on this surprise pick, but I do like Georgia Tech as somebody who's going to make some noise in the conference come fall.
Yeah, same. All right, so let's talk about some disappointing. Okay, let's talk about some disappointing. Jay, how many disappointing teams do you have? Do you only have one?
I have a couple, but I think we share
You think we
at least
share?
one of them.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start with Miami first. And this is a team that I think a lot of people are saying this might be the second best team in the ACC. They are bringing in some transfers in, but here's what I'm worried about. Miami and their expectations are make the playoff because, Jay, they blew that chance last year. They should have been a playoff team. They blew it. And I think they're looking to get into the playoff this year. But here's the thing. Cam Ward was unreal last year. And I think he carried a lot of that offense. I'm not saying Carson Beck is bad, but when you have to replace a lot on offense, and now you replace Cam Ward with Carson Beck, who, yes, is a downgrade, I am a little bit worried for Miami, and I feel like they are going to end up 8-4 or 9-3, and they're not going to make the college football playoff, and they're going to be, again, a disappointing team for that reason.
Yeah, and Miami is one of the teams that I have as a disappointing team as well. Again, part of that is just because of the standard that's been maybe not even set, but has been expected by Miami fans. I think this is still going to be a solid bowl team, but being in the hunt for the playoff. I just don't see that in the cards this year because I think a lot of the opponents that they have are going to take a step forward.
Mhm.
And I still worry about Mario Cristobal's game management skills. Like that is
Whew.
still something that I have concerns with. And I think that could come back to bite him a few times this year. So we'll see how they hand up. I still think, like, from a pure talent perspective, Miami's probably going to be one of the more talented teams in the conference.
Mhm.
Uh, I just I just don't know that they're going to put it together, and that's why I have them on my disappointing list.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, I want to preface something here. I like where this program is going. I just think that they were dealt a way too difficult of a hand, and that's Syracuse. Okay. They have to replace so much on the offensive side of the ball. And they have by far the toughest schedule in the ACC. Oh, and Jay, by the way, they also have to play Tennessee and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I like where Syracuse is heading. I think Syracuse, with Fran Brown, has a little bit of a spark underneath them. However, I think Syracuse is going to be looking to hit that 8-win range, and they're not going to get there. Not because they're not an okay team, but because their schedule is just way too tough for them. You have two pretty much automatic losses in Tennessee and Notre Dame, and then just by the nature of the beast, you're going to drop a couple other in ACC play. Still like what Fran Brown's doing, but it's just schedule is just going to kill him.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I don't have them on my list, and that's because I do think they're going to surprise some people this year and win maybe some games that they shouldn't.
Ooh.
But I just I don't think they're going to take enough of a step back to where it's disappointing. I think this also feeds into the same thing we talk about with Miami, with the standards just aren't the same.
Yeah.
Like, I think disappointing for Syracuse looks a little bit different than disappointing for Miami. So that's one of the things that I'm really considering here. Uh, I hear you with the lack of production returning, but I think that Syracuse has some stuff in place and the way the program's trending where they could still have a pretty solid 2025.
Okay. Who do you have another?
I do. So
Okay.
this is a team that went 9-4 last year. They had 9 wins through the regular season, but they lose their starting quarterback and Malik Murphy. I'm talking about Duke.
Mm,
I think this is a program that's probably going to take a pretty big step back. When you look at their schedule, when you look at what Duke did last year, to get to 9 wins at Duke is super impressive. I don't want to discount that.
mhm.
But you have like a double overtime win against a Northwestern team that wasn't very good last year.
Yeah, true.
You had a 1-score win against UConn. You have 1-score wins over Virginia Tech and Wake Forest. Neither one of those programs were that great last year. And then you look at the losses. Like, yes, the SMU game was close. It was an overtime loss. The loss to Georgia Tech, not great, but they weren't really that competitive with Miami. I think they really struggled to stop them down the stretch. The bowl game against Ole Miss was not a good look for
Oof.
Duke. And I just think this team is probably one of those that's primed to take a step back. The schedule, not quite as bad, like when you talk about Tennessee and Notre Dame for Syracuse, but you have Illinois coming to town. You have Tulane, who's probably going to be one of the better group of 5 teams. And I'm looking at Duke, and I feel like it's going to be a struggle for them this year. I think North Carolina is going to be a better team this year, even with all the craziness with Belichick.
Mhm.
Like, I still feel like he's going to get up to coach that game. That's going to be a tough one. Georgia Tech is obviously going to be tough. They're on the road back-to-back games, Syracuse and Cal. Now, Cal, I don't think is going to be very good, but when you have 2 road games in a row, that's a tough challenge to rise to.
Mm.
So I'm looking at Duke, and I just feel like they're going to take a big step back. You have, at least, in my opinion, at least 2 guaranteed losses in Illinois and Clemson, and then they're probably going to lose a lot more games than that too. Because I feel like another team that I didn't have as my surprise, but I thought about pulling the trigger on it just because of how bad last year was for the NC State squad
Mhm.
compared to what their standards were. Like, I feel like NC State has to be better this year.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at Duke as another one of my disappointing teams for 2025.
Yeah. So my last disappointing team, Jay, um, I know is probably not going to sit well with some of the people because we are a Texas publication, and that's SMU. And here's the thing: I don't think they're going to be bad. All right, but this is a team who went to the playoff last year, and I just don't see them making it again. Um, and it has to do with their defense. Their defense um, loses a lot. I think they only have 3 returning starters back on their defense, and I don't think they're going to be able to just outgun everybody. Listen, Kevin Jennings is a wonderful, wonderful talent. However, I do think sometimes that a little bit of pressure gets him to leave the pocket a little too early, fly some balls, overthrow some guys. Um, granted, I saw him mostly in games when he's against tougher opponents. I did see him in person against Penn State, which I know is not who he is as an athlete all the time. But I just don't think SMU is going to be able to outgun everybody. And I think you're looking at a solid 8-4 football team, which again, by normal as if you would have told SMU people 2 years ago, hey, you guys, your first year are in Power Five, are going to be going to the playoff. You're going to be in the ACC championship game. Oh, and by the way, the next year though, your rebuild year, your down year is going to be 8-4. I think all those SMU fans would sign up in a heartbeat to say, hey, we're 8-4 playing Power Five football. Okay, like we showed we belong here. I just think that they're going to be looking to go to the playoff, and they're just going to come up short of that.
Yeah, the thing is, I think SMU has been recruiting pretty well. I think they have more talent than people think they do. Jennings, obviously, you talked about, struggled against top level competition. The Penn State game was very, very tough for Jennings. But I think he's still going to be a huge playmaker for this offense. And that's part of the reason why I'm still kind of high on SMU. I do think they take a step back. I don't think this is a playoff team in 2025. But when you have a quarterback that can make the types of plays that Jennings can make, I think that's enough to will your team to victory more often than not.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Clemson game, the Miami game, as 2 probable losses. I think there's probably some other games in there that they'll drop. Baylor at home is not going to be an easy one in state. You also have the last Iron Skillet game for a while at TCU, so
Really?
the
Yeah.
feelings are going to be hot for that one. So we'll see. I don't think 8-4 is unreasonable by any means.
Do you think that's a successful? Like, do you think SMU
I think 8-4
people,
is successful. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they'll
Do you
look at
think
it as successful.
Okay, good. Because I would think like, hey, if I'm SMU and I just go to the playoff and then I go, 8-4 after losing almost everyone on your defense, I think you could chalk that up as, hey, we're doing pretty well, all things considered. Making that jump to Power Five. So no, that's good to hear because I know you have more of an ear to that program than I do.
Yeah, and there's going to be some people that aren't really reasonable about the expectations for this season, but I do feel like ultimately SMU fans realize that last year was good for them in a lot of ways that they didn't expect, and they can't really expect it to be the same thing this year. Obviously, you close out the regular season with just the 1 loss, then you lose the ACC championship game to Clemson, and you obviously have the harsher defeat to Penn State on the road, but that's a tough environment to go into for a postseason game
For
when you're
anyone.
not used to that kind of weather as well. Going from Dallas to Pennsylvania, right? But I do think that ultimately the reason I don't have SMU as a disappointing team is because I think they're going to be more realistic about the standards here, and I think 8-4 is a very good year for the Ponies.
All right. Those are all my disappointing teams. Do you have any others to touch on?
No, I think Miami and Duke were the 2 ones that I was really considering. I think we'll
That's a Manny Diaz special right there.
yeah, exactly. But I think we'll touch on some more teams that maybe are going to be disappointing, uh, but it's going to be just too tough to really like
Mhm.
say how it's going to go one way or another.
Yeah. And our conference championship pick. So my conference championship pick, I have Clemson defeating the Pitt Panthers in the ACC championship, and I think it's a walloping. Okay, I do have Pitt getting there, but I think Clemson beats the brakes off them.
Yeah, I have Clemson beating Miami.
Yeah.
I know I already said Miami's going to be a disappointing team, but I think the disappointment again is in relation to their expectations. I think Miami's going to come into the ACC championship already out of competition for the playoff, and then when they lose the ACC championship, it's just going to be kind of another punch to the gut for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they're I do believe that in if you switched Miami's, you know, uniforms with, let's say, an NC State, you would be talking about, hey, it's going to be a successful year. But the problem is Miami's expectations are so high that I don't think their roster is going to be good enough to get there. And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So next we have our tier, like we've been ending most of our episodes here. Again, if this is the first time you're tuning in, we're going to do a tier list. We're going to go through every single ACC team, and we're going to say, are they going to not make a bowl, almost making the playoff, and then a true title contender? That's a national title contender there. And Jay, we're going to start off with Boston College, and I'm going to say this is a bowl team. Defense has a decent amount coming back. I also trust Bill O'Brien to throw a competent offense out there. Again, is this team gonna burn burn holes in the scoreboard? No, but this team is going to get to a bowl game, 6-6, 7-5 type of deal.
Yeah, solid bowl team. Not much more beyond that. I agree with your statement. 6-6, 7-5 is what I'm looking at for Boston College.
Absolutely. Next, we have Cal. I've went back and forth on this, but before I talk about it, Jay, we've been talking about Justin Wilcox on the hot seat since this podcast has started. We've been talking about Justin Wilcox kind of on the hot seat, and he's still there. I think Wilcox gives him that stability, but man, it just seems like they lost a lot of their heavy hitters to the portal, and I just don't believe they're going to make a bowl game this year. And I think this is where Cal is finally going to have the clean break with Justin Wilcox and say, "Hey, I think we're going to try and do something different."
Yeah, you lose Fernando Mendoza to the portal. You lose, I think, your whole running back room.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Thomas.
yeah, so that's just a tough thing to come back from. Like the defense at Cal has always been solid with Wilcox there,
Mhm.
but yeah, this feels like a team that's going to take a big step back, and I don't think Cal is a bowl team.
No, I do think Wilcox though, because Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. He's a defensive guy, correct?
I believe so.
I think he has defensive roots.
Yeah,
I think
he was a defensive coordinator at Wisconsin in
right.
2016 before he took the Cal job.
Whoever Justin Wilcox is not going to be unemployed for long. I would just like to say that. Like, if Cal doesn't make a bowl and they do have that clean break with him, I think he's going to get picked up like that. I like Justin Wilcox. Cal's a tough job to have. But yeah, I just think it's time's running out and they need a fresh start.
Yep.
Clemson, I have them not just ACC contender. This is a championship contender team. Jay, we've already talked about them. They can win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I kind of spoiled it when I
Yeah.
talked about Clemson, but I did say that they're a national title contender, standing firm on that. Clemson has so much coming back. They're adding on the defensive line. The wide receiver room is better than it has been for a while there in Clemson. And then Klubnik coming back. I think you have all the pieces in place to be a national title contender.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to say they have the second most production coming back out of playoff teams last year. I think Arizona State technically has more, but I think Clemson really has some heavy hitters coming back. Yeah, Clemson, that's your team to watch out for. Next up, Duke, one of your as a bowl team. I think this team goes 6-6. No, not much more there. I think Manny Diaz and that defense will be okay, especially in the ACC. But yeah, I think 6-6. I'd be surprised if they go out to 7-4 or 7-5.
6-6 is where I have them too. I
Yeah,
think people are going to be disappointed with that step back. Again, the Illinois game is just a tough early non-con game. Tulane is going to be a tough test, and they're going to Tulane. I think
yeah.
Summerall and you give Summerall another year at Tulane. I think that's just going to be a program that improves.
Mm.
Obviously, we already talked about Malik Murphy leaving. You do get Darian Mensah in there at quarterback from Tulane. Which kind of adds to the spice there a little bit for that one. But I ultimately think this is a 6-6 team at best.
Yeah, I see it as well. All right, next up, Jay, Florida State. I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue what is happening there. And okay, Jay, when FSU won the national title, okay? They win a national title and then they slowly declined and then they like the bottom fell out, correct?
Yeah.
Like this is under Jimbo. And then why does it feel like the same thing just happened with Norvell? It's like the same exact thing took place. Like they came up this time came up a little bit short and then I don't man, I want to say they get to 6-6. I want to say it's a bowl team, but they were just so bad last year that I don't even know if I can even say that.
Yeah. Hey, this program, I will say, like getting Castellanos in there at quarterback, I think is going to improve the offense.
It will.
But this program feels like one that could end up cratering after playing Alabama in week 1. And that is my biggest concern with this team because they cratered last year. I could see them easily doing it again this year. I think they'll be better. Like, I don't think this is going to be a team that loses as many games as they did 2 years in a row. But this is going to be another not great year for Florida State, in my opinion. I think they at least get to like 6-6, 7-5, and make a bowl. I just, what's the identity there? You know what I mean? Like, this is a team that just feels like they don't know who they are, and it's going to be a tough season to be a Florida State fan again.
And again, I don't know what is it with this program, but like, I hate to say this, but like when Bobby Bowden left, again that identity left, and like Jimbo came in, won a national title, but and I hate talking bad about coaches. I feel like Jimbo is very much if we don't win the whole thing, then what's the point? And I think if you have that message, then you can lose guys easily once you lose a game or two.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid, again, not saying this is what will happen with Norvell, but I'm afraid, like you said about cratering, I'm afraid they're going to get the brakes beat off them by Alabama. And they're just going to go back into that sulk mode of, well, here we go again. I have no idea what's going on with this program.
Yeah.
And
Again, this is a team that finished at the bottom of the barrel last year in the ACC. They won one ACC game. They go 2-10 on the year. Those wins came against Cal and Charleston Southern, right? So you have one FBS win. You have the loss to Memphis. Like, this was a horrendous year for Florida State.
that should never happen at Florida State.
No, and we all knew that Memphis was going to be one of the better
Yeah.
Group of 5 programs. Like, that one was one I think we both had circled. But it's everything else, right? Like getting blown out by SMU, getting, you know, boat raced by Florida at the end of the year with a Florida team that wasn't expected to be great. You lose 3-52 to Notre Dame. Like this was just
It's
a
not just them losing, it's how they're losing.
yeah.
And like and again, would you rather a team that, God, I remember some of those Northwestern teams that were like 3-9, but like or Indiana with Tom Allen sometimes, like they were giving everyone a fight, but they would lose somehow in the end.
Yeah.
Nebraska was a good, like with Scott Frost, and I know we're not Scott Frost people, but they were at least close. Last year there was nothing.
They looked lost out there more often than not.
Yes, it was rough. And so, yeah, I don't know. This is a complete and utter mystery.
But
Go
bowl
on.
team barely is ultimately what I've come to.
Yeah, I don't even know if I do not feel confident about that. I
No.
wish I could say 6-6, but I don't feel confidently. Jay, this is one of your surprise teams, Georgia Tech. And you talked about them a little bit. We both did. This is a bowl team. I think that 7-5, I think is a good bet for this one. I love Haynes King. Like I said, with Brent Key, the Yellow Jackets have this identity to them that they're going to be tough, and I absolutely love it for them. I think they're an easy team to root for as well. But I have Georgia Tech as a 7-5, hopefully 8-4 football team.
Yeah, I have them at 8-4, and ultimately in a bowl. I don't have them in that like 9-3 range that could get you to almost playoff.
Yeah,
But I think 8-4 is a good year for this Georgia Tech squad.
yeah, absolutely. Next up, Louisville. Here's the thing with Louisville. I think they're kind of also a little bit of a mystery. I'm not sure really what we're going to get. I do know this, though. I do trust Jeff Brom to get a good product on the field, especially on offense. Not expecting anything crazy from Louisville. I'm expecting them to just be a tough out in the conference. And again, 7-5, 8-4.
Yeah, you're replacing the quarterback, which always gives me pause anytime you don't know exactly what you're going to get from that position. You have a tough non-con group of 5 game against James Madison, who obviously last year
Ooh,
uh,
yeah.
pulled off a bit of an upset early on in the season and has been a team that's competitive for since they've been in the FBS level. Obviously, I'm talking about the James Madison win over North Carolina last year, which was a wild game, by the way. But yeah, I look at this Louisville team. I just don't really know what to expect. I have them as a bowl team just because I think they're going to be in the top half of the conference in talent. I don't trust the quarterback enough to say more than a bowl team.
No. Next up, Miami. Again, I said they were going to be a little disappointing because of their expectations. I think Miami's going to be 8-4 or 9-3. I don't know if I want to put them as a bowl team or just missing playoff. That's what I'm between here. I just think they're going to be more talented than a lot of teams. They're going to out talent some teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to collectively be a great football team, though. I think if they somehow make their way into the college football playoff, I think it will be a lot like SMU last year. But I have Miami as like 8-4, 9-3, making a good bowl. Making a good bowl.
I have them in the 8-4 range as well. I think they lose to Notre Dame. I think they lose to Florida. And then I'm looking at the rest of the schedule. They're probably going to end up dropping 2 more games, which, 2 losses in the ACC, I think can still get them in the ACC championship.
Then you got to win it.
But that's ultimately where I'm looking at it like, okay, yes, they can make the championship, but I still feel like overall this is going to be a disappointing team. And then I have them at 8-4 in a bowl game, not in the playoff talk.
Next up, North Carolina and the circus that is surrounding them. Jay, I have them making a bowl because I feel like they have talent and they have 2 great coordinators. Okay. Steve Belichick and Freddie Kitchens. Again, Bill is going to add his caveats where I think he's going to be thinking a little bit more as a professional coach, which I think is going to be good for schematics. I don't know if it's going to be great as a CEO of a college football program, but I think they're going to have some talent and they're going to out scheme some teams, but I don't think it's going to help them when they evidently have to play or eventually have to play Clemson. So I'm going to say North Carolina bowl team.
Yeah, I think North Carolina's a bowl team too, in spite of the kind of circus that you've brought up. Looking at their non-conference schedule, I think TCU at home is a winnable game. Charlotte and Richmond should
Yeah.
both be wins. UCF with Scott Frost Part 2, I am very much not bullish on. Like, I think that's going to be a fit that's I think you got the rose-tinted glasses a little bit looking at the previous Scott Frost tenure. And so I think that I look at this and then, like, North Carolina should come into ACC play 4-0.
Yeah.
I think maybe the TCU game could be the one that I look at where that's a game where they may struggle. But again, you have that game at home. So I'm looking at it 4-0. And I think you get at least 2 more wins to get to that 6-0 mark. Or not 6-0, but to get that 6-win mark and get to a bowl game. So I don't really see how this team misses a bowl unless it is just a disaster. And again, with the level of coaching that they have there, even if it may not be great for recruiting, it may not be great for the college game, I think the coaching is strong enough to get them to at least a bowl.
I 100% agree. Next up, NC State. Okay, so Jay, I want to say something here. Out of the gate, they got to play ECU. And for the people who may have forgotten, they play ECU and NC State are two teams that do not like each other. NC State, very much kind of a big brother in that situation. They played each other in the bowl game, had some scuffle take place after ECU won. I think that's a game where that's going to tell us a lot about NC State, I believe. I think this is going to be a solid team. I think Dave Dorian is you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a solid football team. I think they're going to win every game they're supposed to. I think they're going to lose every game they're supposed to. And NC State is going to go to.
Lost your mic, bud.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Got you now. Technical difficulties.
I hit my mic. Where did I leave off?
You think that you were talking about NC State?
Yeah, NC State, I think they're going to win every game they're supposed to. I think they're going to lose every game they're supposed to. But that first game against ECU, I think, is going to be telling. Dave Dorian, fantastic. He's a good coach. I don't think he gets enough credit for just being stable and constant, which is very difficult with 18 to 22-year-olds. I think they're going to do what they need to do. Not going to surprise anybody, but they're not going to have any letdowns. So we're looking at another 7-5, 8-4 type of team.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me. NC State replacing both of their coordinators. You have Kurt Roper and DJ Elliott coming in, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, respectively. Tony Gibson obviously has taken the Marshall head coach job, whereas on offense, you had Robert Ane in his second season being replaced. I'm looking at this and yes, NC State should be better than last year, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I'm like you. I think that ECU game is going to be very telling. I worry about them down the stretch with Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, Miami, Florida State, North Carolina to close out the season.
That's a tough stretch.
Like, that is a tough stretch of games. So if you're going to get to bowl eligibility, you have to win in the first half of the season. I think NC State can do that, but it's going to be a challenge. I have them as bowl eligible, but I think you're looking at like 7-5.
Definitely see that. All right. SMU, again, this is a bowl team. Offense is going to carry them. They're going to have a decent year this year. They're just not going to get to that level. And I think the defense is going to hold them back.
Yeah, the Baylor game is one that I have circled as kind of telling for this team. Again, this is kind of an in-state matchup, an old Southwest Conference rivalry game, to two private schools in the state of Texas. That's going to be where I kind of like inform my opinion on what this team's going to look like. But I do think that there's no way they miss a bowl with
Yeah.
Jennings back at quarterback.
Stanford's missing a bowl. Uh,
Stanford is missing a
I
bowl.
listen. They have some production back on their defense, but again, I just think they weren't very good last year, and I don't see them bringing in enough for them to make a bowl. So I think they do better than last year, but they're still not bowl eligible.
Yeah, this is a team that is just going to struggle all year. There's really no way around it. Uh, I think you look at Stanford, and it's kind of another situation where similar to what happened with Cal, where it's just
Mhm.
like an identity, and they did make a change. Obviously, Frank Wright coming in. It's going to be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. But I just don't see enough from Stanford to have them get to bowl
No,
eligibility.
same. Next up, Syracuse. Again, we talked about Syracuse a little bit. There is a buzz around this program with Fran Brown. I think they just make a bowl game, but it's because their schedule is just so tough. They do have to replace a good amount on offense. But again, you have two built-in losses into your schedule with Notre Dame and Tennessee. I think Syracuse is going to be they might be a better team this year than they were last year. I just think that some bounces aren't going to go their way. And man, they again, two losses you can already mark on their schedule, which is very difficult to kind of excel with that.
It's I can't really add much onto what you said, Jake. This is a bowl team. They're going to struggle with those two assured losses, probably three if you're including Clemson
Oh
as
yeah.
well. Syracuse bowl team, but they're 7-5
I'm
moving forward.
interested to see more. No moral victories. I'm interested to see how do they match up against Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Clemson. How are they going to respond to a team that is, let's just say, more talented than they are? So, I Syracuse is a very interesting team, and I think is going to be very telling of how they're going to be in the future this year. Virginia, Jay. I don't have the Cavaliers making a bowl game.
Yeah, I don't either. The interesting piece is probably Chandler Morris coming in from North Texas to play quarterback at Virginia. Uh, obviously, Chandler, son of Chad, was started his career at Oklahoma, then went to TCU, gets hurt when he was a starter. That leads to the Max Duggan
Oh yeah.
phenomenon. And then Chandler ends up at North Texas. Had a pretty good year running that offense last year, but that was a wide open offense. I don't know that Virginia is going to be quite the same experience here. Ultimately, I don't have Virginia as a bowl
No.
team.
Now we're going to stay in the state with Virginia Tech. This kind of goes against my philosophy because, again, production not coming back, but I'm biased, Jay. I'm going to say it.
Brent Pry
I am
bias.
very biased towards Brent Pry. I I think he's a fantastic human. I'm rooting for him. I think he is a great culture guy, but he's got to start putting the wins together. I think Virginia Tech gets better this year, and I'm saying they're a bowl team. And God, I hope they win a couple more because I'm really pulling for Brent Pry because I believe if he doesn't produce something of relevance this year, he might be shown the door, and I just don't think it's all on him. But he is the skipper. He is the head guy. He's got to change it. I just don't think they're recruiting very well. But again, my bias is getting in the way here, and I know it is. But I have Virginia Tech making a bowl at like 7-5.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of with you there. 7-5, maybe 6-6 again. A tough game to start the year against South Carolina in a neutral site. Again,
Boo.
stop playing neutral
Yeah.
site games. But this is another team that's replacing both of their coordinators. You have Philip Montgomery coming in, former Tulsa head coach. You have Sam Sifkas coming in as the first year defensive coordinator. So any time that you're replacing both of your coordinators kind of sets off alarm bells. This was a team that struggled last year. This is probably going to be a team that struggles again this year. They're going to be a bowl eligible just barely. I'm afraid Brent Pry's time in Blacksburg may be coming to an end shortly.
Unfortunately, again, when that happens, though, he's not going to be unemployed for long because someone's going to hire a very good defensive coordinator. Last up, Wake Forest. Listen, Dave Clawson retires at the end of last year. I think this is going to be one of the worst teams in the ACC. I'm not big on Wake Forest this year, so I have them missing a bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jake Dickert's a
Oh.
bad hire for Wake Forest. I just think that this is a lose situation that he's walking into. Very glad that the slow mesh is going to be gone. No more claw fence. So I am grateful for that. But yeah, I don't have Wake Forest as a bowl team. I think this team is going to struggle mightily in their first year under Jake Dickert. Obviously, you get a lot of incoming transfers that are following Dickert from Washington State. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. But yeah, this is a team that is gonna have a tough time of it in 2025. The good news, the saving grace, I think, is that their non-conference schedule isn't super strong. Probably the most challenging game on the schedule, looking at it, is Oregon State, and that game at Oregon State could be testy. But that is the only game where I look at it, and I don't think Wake Forest has an outright favorite to win, right? Like they should be the outright favorite against Kennesaw State. They should be the outright favorite against Western Carolina, and they should be the outright favorite against Delaware, making their first season in the FBS. So not a bowl team, but maybe the lackluster non-conference schedule provides some hope.
Yeah, I like Dickert, but I think his transfers are going to have to do the heavy lifting. I think the cupboard is kind of bare there in Winston-Salem. And Jay, that is our ACC preview. Let's land this plane.
Yeah. So as Jake mentioned, to kind of start this off, we are brought to you by Apollo. So I do want to bring up that Apollo has the SummerSlam watch party going on at Pitch 25 this weekend. I know we did have a comment earlier. They can't wait for SummerSlam. Oscar can't wait for SummerSlam. So if you're in the Houston area, you like professional wrestling, be sure to get out for that. We touched a little bit on Deion Sanders and his situation. We do like to give back as much as we can. I brought up St. Jude earlier. If you can make a donation there, that's always something that helps with families going through the burden of cancer and how brutal that disease is. Obviously, we talk about it. It affects a lot of people. Any way we can help out, we like to be able to do that. But yeah, looking forward to this college football season. Can't wait. Like, Jake, what are we at? We're under a month.
I think
It's August 23rd is 0 week.
Are we at like 25 days, something like that?
Yeah, so we're almost there. We're almost out of talking season into playing season, which is always nice. And we appreciate every one of you who supports the pod, all of the folks that watch, all the folks that listen. If you are interested in sponsoring the Get Back Coach, be sure to slide in the DMs of either myself
always
or Jake.
Open.
And by the way, Jake, send Jay away.
Oh yes, send Jay away. So
we have
let them know who the winner is.
We have talked about this stadium as being on both of our bucket lists, I believe. One of the most scenic stadiums in college football. Super excited to announce that I'm headed to University of Texas, El Paso, to the famous Sun Bowl on September 20th. I'll be there for the ULM game. I believe our friends from the Sickos Committee will be having a representative out there as well. So super excited. I think, and we'll probably talk about this in the Group of Five, guys, when we do the Group of Five preview. But I think that Scotty Walden's going to have some magic going on in El Paso. So I can't wait to get out there. Can't wait to see that stadium and stay tuned for the content from that.
I do love following UTEP. Again, one of the best venues in college football, maybe all of sports. And Jay, you going there definitely jealous.
Can we get you to take a flight?
Ugh,
Fly to El
it
Paso,
m
Jake.
I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about it. I don't know how I don't know how expensive ticket prices to El Paso because again, like, where would be the nearest major airport? Because
Uh,
Houston's what, 10 hours?
yeah, Houston's a 10-hour drive. Probably closer to
Yeah.
11.
I know San Antonio is like
Uh,
7.
San Antonio would probably be, and really it would be Austin. I think Austin has more air traffic. So
Albuquerque? Might be better off going to the Albuquerque.
yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
again, you said major
Uh,
airport, so I don't know
Flags
that you have
maybe
a ton
fly
of
me to
options.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
Maybe flying
Yeah,
into
I don't know
Juarez and you can cross the border.
but no, I would love to. I'll have to look into it. Probably a no. It's
Yeah,
money is tight, Jay, and I got a more.
yeah. We got to save up for the Penn State playoff
Oof,
run. I
there it
agree.
is. There, see, you always talking more positive about the Lions than I am. No, thank you all for tuning in. As always, make sure you follow us, like, subscribe. Uh, five
Five
stars,
star,
five star,
five
five
star,
star.
five
We're
star.
5-star men. But yeah, follow us, and from everyone at the Get Back Coach, have a great week.